Welcome everybody to TruExact Show. I'm here with Eric Bryan, our guest today, comedian from Toronto. He now lives in New York. We'll get into that. Alex Pavone, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Awesome. For the backstory here, we actually have met before through a mutual friend, my cousin up in Canada. I saw him 10 years ago, and his name always stuck in my head. And when we started this podcast, he was one of the first people we reached out to, and it's actually been nonstop trying to get in touch with him, little conflict of interest, Alex just not wanting to do it. But we finally, after a year pretty much, we finally got it done. So I'm very happy about this. So Alex, just really quick, give us your backstory of growing up in Toronto and how you got into comedy, how you were growing up. You were always a class clown and whatnot. Go on, man.
Okay, first of all, you said Toronto, and then the second time you said Toronto. So you definitely edited yourself, which is perfect because no one calls it Toronto. That's fine.
Toronto.
But first, and thank you for having me on the podcast. I am not a busy person. It wasn't a conflict of interest. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot, and I was lazy. I'm not gonna lie to you. It has nothing to do with anything else. I'm fully a lazy idiot. But thank you for having me, and thank you for being nice. I'm from Toronto. I'm from Canada, obviously, and just started doing comedy because I wasn't really good at anything else. I won't lie to you. I've had multiple jobs, failed at all of them, and comedy for a lot of people's like a last ditch effort. You're like, well, let me, I've made someone laugh once in my life. Let's try this. Ended up liking it, and here we are. Now I'm down on your podcast.
It's not much of an accomplishment, I hate to say.
You made it. You made it. It is. I'm optimistic.
All right. Yeah, maybe 3 years from now. Go on, Brad. Sorry.
You know what's crazy? Just because he just said it, I feel like a lot of times comedy is like a last resort for people who want to be entertainers, and they're like, yeah, I can't seem to break through with acting. I can't seem to break through with music, but I'm fucking funny a little bit. If I can work on this just a little bit, I could probably do something.
And you're right, but it doesn't even end there. There's wrestlers too. They're like, I'm failing at getting chokeslammed on nails. Let's try stand-up comedy because that looks easy. I've taken a couple chairs to the head. So I don't know if I did like comedy though. I won't lie to you. I mean, I fuck around a lot. I definitely like comedy. I love, Chappelle and Bill Burr before I started. So I definitely have a passion for it. I'm not just, I'm not just someone who's like, fuck, I'm an idiot and I did it. I loved it and I still do love it. So this year has been pretty tough. Sorry?
I'm just saying it because it's because I do stand up. I'm not on the same level as you. I was just before the pandemic, I was just starting to get paid spots in New York, and then all the shit happened and I lost all my dates. But there were a lot of people. There's a lot of people that I would meet that would be like, oh, I used to be a rapper. Oh, I used to do this. I used to do that. And I feel like most people turn to comedy. That's why I say it's almost like a.
No, you're right.
It's
you're
like an entertainer's end, pretty much.
The Situation has weekends booked, influencers. I saw an eyebrow influencer had a weekend. And
wait, what?
I didn't even know what an eyebrow.
Are you talking about The Rock?
Eric, you
funny if it was.
All right, I got one of my jokes. Yes, right.
That's hilarious. But The Rock is way too good for stand-up. If The Rock starts doing stand-up, I'm out. I'm out of the game. He's way ahead of stand-up. But no, some girl who I don't even know if it's a guy or a girl, but they're an eyebrow influencer, and which I had no idea what it was. My buddy told me about it, and I guess whoever can get people into the seats is gonna do comedy. Of course. They're probably not even doing comedy. They're probably threading an eyebrow, and there it is. So. It is what it is, man. People need to make money. And
I've seen food influencers when I was in the city. That's the most bizarre thing you've ever seen. They had actual crews, lighting crews, and they're all around. And I asked the server, I was like, "What's going on over here?" They go, "Oh, they're just taking pictures of our pizzas." And they're just laying down on laying down on tables, just zooming in on this pizza. I was like, I do that, but it's on my phone, like a loser. This is they're really about this stuff.
Why do you start getting paid for it?
Well, nobody cares if I have a DiGiorno pizza in my one-bedroom apartment.
So, Alex, you said, Brian, by the way, I feel like a shot was thrown at me there. So, Brian says I stopped getting paid. Luckily, then he ended up here on this show. So, if the pandemic never happened, he would have stopped doing these interviews with me and then left me to do them alone with Eric.
Exactly.
No offense. And then he mentioned people just, I used to rap, and then they fall for comedy. I also rapped, and then I went to comedy, failed at that, so I went back to rap. So
He's going to try wrestling next.
Wow.
Yeah,
You did the rap, comedy rap? Holy
yeah.
shit.
Hey, I figured I was really good at one, and I sucked at the other. I might as well do the one I'm good at. I'm also decent at this, so here we are. You mentioned that you failed at every job you had. What's like the easiest job you had you failed at, and you were like, how did I fuck this up?
I honestly worked at I worked at a restaurant, I worked at a bakery, I worked construction. The easiest jobs. I was never working in an office. I was never like, doing coding or anything difficult. Like it was flipping burgers. I panic when I work for other people. That's the problem. I ask too many questions. Easiest things. I'll be like, so I flip the burger and then I put the condiments first, or the burger goes first. And they were like, burger. And then I go, but does the burger go on the top or the bottom bun? And they're like, buddy, what the fuck are you talking about? I just panic. I don't know why. When it's for other people, I have an issue. If it's for me, I don't care. I'll bomb my ass off on stage and I'll be like, hey, that was, meanwhile, I've disappointed paying customers. But for whatever reason, that doesn't stick. But when it's on me, the onus is on me. I'm cool with it. But
Alex, you're the guy like who's flipping the burger, asking questions, like smiling at the new workers, and they're saying this kid ain't gonna fucking last.
Listen, he ain't gonna last.
None of the jobs I've had that lasted were because I was a good worker. I think I just brought good energy. I was like a mascot more than an employee.
That's how I was, like doing like finance stuff. Like I literally was extended twice for a job at Nike, and I didn't do anything, but they liked to have me around. And I made them laugh, and they go, "We'll extend you." I was like, "I don't do anything." So I think I was like a comedian because I got paid to make them laugh inadvertently.
You do look like you have the upper body on
Dave
Zoom
Chappelle.
for someone who works at head office at Nike. Like you're pretty jacked, and yeah, no, you have fucking Nike head office pecs.
Pop.
Eric's gonna start positioning himself every podcast. Like,
Push-ups
he does though. Like he's not too jacked, but he's not like, no offense, but he's also like, that's not a finance chest. That's more of like, he's working in some sort of like Adidas PR or Nike head office.
This is a boardroom chest. Yeah.
I mean, you might be fat, like you might just have good Zoom pecs, like, and then your
my
body.
stomach's just like this.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm normal, but anyway.
Okay.
Enough about me, guys.
all four of us are doing the show with boners now.
It's an erotic
Over
podcast.
here.
No, but now I know how Eric feels when I'm getting praised on this show. I didn't like that. Let's move on.
That's
All
funny.
right, so Alex, one thing I want to ask. I know Brian will have like more questions in general, just with the comedy like repertoire you guys might have, but we had Courtney Gilmore on the show back in November, and the one thing she mentioned in Toronto was it is a real cutthroat comedy place. Did you experience that, and were you aware of it when you got in it? And then people might have been like, lowballing you, stabbing you in your back, like, what the fuck's going on here?
I don't know. I don't know really if I haven't really been in Toronto for like 7 years, so I can't really recall. No one really backstabbed me or anything like that, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, it's entertainment, so it's there's limited spots. It's difficult, right? In any aspect of entertainment, it's tough. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a cutthroat industry, but in my experience, people didn't necessarily throw me under the bus to get ahead. I was lucky to have a good group of people that I started with and hung out with, and we were pretty supportive and cool with one another. But I don't know how really the scene is now. I could see it, I could see it being definitely a little more cutthroat and a little more competitive, especially. I mean, I don't even know if I should say this, but for girls, I think maybe it's a little bit more difficult. you know, I don't even know why I'm saying this right now. Can we edit this part out?
Sure, do you want?
You know, no, you could keep it. But I don't know. Maybe her experience is different.
Right.
But I don't know. For me, it wasn't really an issue. No.
I don't think she said anyone backstabbed her. I was just asking you. She just said it's really competitive up in Toronto. Like she said, it's real competitive.
Yeah, I mean, comedy is just so competitive. Like you know, like Brian was saying, you know, there's people who are rappers who come into this business, and again, like it's not about sometimes about who's the funniest. It's about who could get people into the doors, and who, you know, it's about your social media presence and a lot about that. So yeah, it's definitely competitive, and it's definitely tough.
One more thing. Sorry. Mention the social media thing. Like now you and Brian, we're pretty much the same age, and we didn't necessarily like grow up on that stuff where we relied on it 100%. Like even with our rap music, like we were kind of like caught in the middle at that era in 07, 08 where we were like, do we put out videos? Do we not put out CDs? Digital marketing was just coming around. It kind of, you were in limbo. Like, did you experience that when you got into comedy and you saw all these younger dudes on like these, you know, social media? You're like, what's going on here? Like, how am I getting filtered out or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. When I started, probably around the same time as you, 07, 08, I started doing stand-up. And the thing was, if you're funny, you're going to get booked. And, you know, there's a pecking order. And so quickly, social media started to dominate. It just, you know, it took everything by storm. And by 2013, 14, it was like a priority now. People were like, don't even worry about fucking being funny. Get on social media. But, you know, it had been 6 years of me just doing stand-up and knowing that that was my muscle. So it was sort of hard. And plus, you know, like I'm 30, I'll be 35 in June. I don't know how old you guys are. I wasn't born with, you know, a phone in my hand, or even when I was young, you know, like in high school, we didn't have, I'm horrible, bro. I don't know how to make a meme. I'm a disaster. I don't know how to edit shit. Like I'm a disaster. Yeah. So it's difficult for sure.
You know what it is? We're the generation, because we're 34, but like we're the generation that was like right on the brink of the old ways, but still on the brink of the like technology and social media boom. So we were caught in the middle, and like half of us adapted and were able to get on the social media stuff, and then there are the other half that were like, oh, should I still put a demo together? And it's like, nah, put that shit online, man.
I agree, man. We were in a tough spot for definitely for the technology and social media boom, because it was like a slippery slope. So yeah, I definitely struggle with that for sure. I feel like if I was better with social media, I'd be probably doing better, but I mean, who knows?
Dane Cook was the one that really blew it up for everybody because of MySpace, where he was literally like, I watched a documentary on it one time where he was talking about how he would literally interact with every single one of his fans. Everybody that would message him, he would eventually message them back. And it's like he built his following just off that, because people, and he would go online and play when like online video games were starting to get big. He would go on and he would just talk with people and make jokes, and people would come out to his shows because of that.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He was like a pioneer for, I guess, the grassroots of social media or whatever. But he was enormous too, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, he was enormous. So
yeah, Torgasm was huge. That was on HBO. I remember that was big.
Yeah.
Would they say like comedians, it's a little bit cliquey depending on where you are, right? Because they kind of just like have their own little sections and whatnot. Was it, when you came to New York, what was that like coming from Canada? Was there any extra barriers that you kind of saw? Did they not really give you a chance at first? Was there any of that going on?
Fucking bringer shows.
Where'd you move to? Where'd you move to when you first came?
When I first moved to the city, I moved to Harlem. For a month, and then I moved to Bed-Stuy, and then I moved to Astoria, and then I moved around the whole year. Because
so you blended in. You're saying you blended in very easily.
Yeah, pretty much. I was blending in. Yes, correct. So yeah. No, I don't know. People work like, you know, have cliques and stuff, but they were pretty cool, because, you know, a lot of people in the New York scene, a lot of them aren't from New York. So it's not like there are New York comics. Of course, there's a bunch too, but a lot of them aren't from here. So they're pretty easygoing when it comes to someone coming in. Oh, where are you from? This and that. They were pretty cool and stuff like that. And comedy's a very small community, especially the more you do it. People in 2 seconds. Oh, where are you from? Philly. Oh, I know this guy from Philly. Oh, that's and then it's not really too big. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Brian, I'm going to steal something Brian uses on our shows with the rappers. I'm going to ask you, because a lot of times I always wonder this, and this happened to me personally when I started doing podcasts like 8 years ago. Like, I always had this sense of humor of like other people or making jokes other people, and like you never really found your own voice or whatnot, like your own style. And then finally, like, you just start doing stuff and you like come into your own. So like, was there someone you emulated growing up nonstop, and like you found your comedy to be sort of along the lines of, like, I kind of have to like change it up a bit, and then like you found your own? How long did that take to find your voice?
There's actually a friend of mine from Toronto who I initially, when I've told this story on so many goddamn podcasts because, this question comes up a lot, right? So I just, I'm like, if someone's watching the podcast I'm on, they're going to be like, this fucking shit again, this story.
Don't worry, no one's watching this.
But a friend of mine, his name's Dave. And before I started doing comedy, I was obviously nervous to get on stage. So I would always go around in the city and watch open mics and shows. And a lot of people were, very jokey, and they'd go up there with their jokes and their punchlines. And I was just very like, oh my God, I don't have this sense of humor. And then I saw this guy, Dave, who was really rambly and storytelling, and he was crazy. And I was like, this guy I could do this, but not in a bad way. Like he sucked. Like this is a style that's more reminiscent of what I would do, right? So, I really liked them. And then when I did comedy and I tried it for the first time, I really was sort of trying to be like him. And it wasn't like that I was ripping him off or trying. It was just someone I who was like local to the scene, who I enjoyed, and it was just. That's just the way it is. I think a lot of people do that when they first start. It's a nerve-wracking experience. You know how it is, Brian. You're up there, and it's scary. Like you have a minute initially to make people laugh, or they'll turn on you, the audience, like not turn 30, on you, but
30 seconds.
Yeah, like especially when you first do it, right? Yeah. The longer you do it, you're like, whatever, who cares? But initially, you're like, I got to get my first joke out and do this and do that. So, for me, I guess I was just emulating him because I wasn't comfortable in my own skin, or I wasn't confident yet on stage. I would say I wasn't confident yet on stage. So he was definitely someone that I was emulating. And people told me, too. They would be like, yo, you're doing Dave. And I would be like, fuck. But that's cool. Like, no one was rude about it. They're like, it happens. You like someone, you're going to do their style, and that's what it is. But, we're sort of similar, but I, now have my own thing. So, you figure it out the more you do it. It's like anything. It's like anything you do,
And anyone who's pissed about that story, you could suck it. Go fuck yourselves.
Scott gets a lisp when he's upset.
Yeah. I had ice in my mouth.
Yeah, I was going to say, this guy's gnawing on ice.
It calms me down.
I thought it was you're like, how do I make the Canadian comfortable? Let me like chew on an ice cube.
I do have like one or two more questions, but I'll let Brian go if you got something.
How long did it take you to kind of develop that icebreaker right when you got up? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, do you have like, all right, like you just mentioned, like you have like 30 seconds to a minute to really gain an audience, and like that's usually, you can't lead off with some long joke that takes a minute to like get into it and get to the punchline. Like, I know for myself, I tried a bunch of different things, and it wasn't until like after a couple times of like, oh shit, this didn't work, I found something where the MC would bring me up to the stage and I would have them introduce me as something. Like, because I did figure skating when I was a little kid, and like I look the way I do and everything, and it's like I don't look like a figure skater, so I play off that, and it's like it opens up a little bit where the audience is not as intimidated, and they're like, okay, you know what, he's cool. Like, how long did it take you to kind of put together something like that?
That's a good. I honestly don't know. A lot of the times I'll start by like riffing with the audience, or just if something happens with the MC and he says something about me, because at this point now, you know, we're all friends and stuff. So it's there's not as much pressure. Like I sort of know how to get out of situations where if the first thing doesn't work, I always have a back door on what joke I could do if things don't work. But I can't really recall what I was doing early on, if that makes sense. I truly don't know what I was doing. I probably had a joke that I would initially start with, but I don't know what that is now.
Nice. You got any more questions, Brian Boitano?
That was a good question, Scott. Let's fucking chew on some more ice cubes.
Have you ever gotten paid for a spot and like ate shit 30 seconds in and had to finish your set out like literally the whole like 10-15 minutes?
He's on thin ice, Brian. He's on thin ice with these questions.
Yeah, of course. All the time.
That's fucking funny.
I mean,
you stink all the time and you get paid, but you do great all the time and you don't get paid. So it's like,
is it really the worst feeling when you bomb? Like I want to experience it once just to understand the humility. Like there's nothing. Like there's nothing you compare it to. Like getting like dumped and cheated on and heartbroken is like second to that. Probably not. I don't know. That's pretty serious.
It don't feel great. I'll tell you. Yeah. It really don't. But it is necessary sometimes. There are times that if I'm like you know, have a run of doing like well, like I'm like, fuck, I've had a lot of good shows recently. Like I'm just in the zone and I start getting like bored of the material I'm doing and I start getting annoyed of it. I'm like, I have to do new things, and then I'm cool with bombing. I'm like, it feels good to get out of that routine and fail. Sometimes you're like, I felt pretty good, and then sometimes I hate audience so much that I'm like, I don't care. I do not care how if I do bad or good. I'm just gonna do whatever I want. I was
gonna ask that because we do ask that to a lot of comedians we have. What's the worst group you feel you have to perform for? Whether it's like a bachelor party, bachelorette party, a birthday, like what do you find the more like unbearable to just like when you walk in, you're like, ah, shit.
People who are too cool to be there. People who are just not having a good time. If you're a bachelorette party, you're drunk and you're annoying, and it sucks, but they're there to have a good time. But when you're just in the audience and you're just like a fucking wet blanket, why are you out? Fuck off. Like, what do you think? You're too cool? You're too smart? Like, who are you?
Yeah. Why'd you buy the ticket? Like,
to me, that makes no sense. To me, I'm like, oh, fuck off. Like, you know, and it's weird because sometimes you get a collective group of those people and you're like, how do people not know each other, but you found each other? What soul-sucking energy gathered you all in here today? It's unbelievable. So those are the shows I hate the most, where people are they're just miserable.
Gotcha. I want to touch on, you know, as Americans, we do have a lot of pride. Like, you learned that when you moved here. So
no.
And when I was in Canada, you did like an anti-American like bit, and I was there. Not anti-American, but you were like making fun of us.
Anti-American.
You were making fun of us, and
did I do my laughing. Flag burning bit?
I don't remember honestly, but I remember like my cousin introduced it. You're like, oh, he's from America. You're like, sorry about that whole thing. You know, I was like, oh, don't worry about it. Were you cautious when you came here with some of the rhetoric you might have used being in New York? Like, no, like. You had to like put your toe in the water, like I don't know how to react to this stuff, or did you just go 100% with it?
I think when you perform in Canada, just there's just so much making fun of America because you know we're an insecure nation. So we're always making fun of America. It's just our go-to. No, but when I came here, no, not really. I don't. I mean, me personally, I don't have, anti-American establishment material. I don't even know. I don't know what. I don't care. I don't care. But
it was a joke. It was a joke where you said like, I don't know why the fuck we try so hard to be like these idiots. But it was something weed, and like.
Very fair.
It was something like that. And
no, I for sure still do that. I for sure still do that. Yeah.
All right. But good for you. I'm happy you're yourself though, and you just went straight for it. So I mean, whatever.
No, I mean, I'm obviously I'm joking, because it's what kind of a hypocrite would I be if I'm shit talking a place and I moved here. I paid thousands of dollars to move here, actually. So I mean, the joke's on me at that point.
No, I meant none by it. I thought it was funny. I don't give a shit. Like,
what do you care?
I'm not one of these fucking like, I'll show him. I don't care about that. I do want to touch on other things. I'll pass it to you guys if you have anything else.
I'm ready for the gun to your head.
All right. So one last thing though, Alex, before we get to our final segment. When you told your family you were moving here, because I always ask them, people moved in, like, were they like, okay, go for it, or like, what are you doing? Or were they like, well, you failed at your bakery job, so you might as well try something else?
Can't figure out a burger. Good luck.
Yeah, I'm the only kid, so they were probably like nervous and scared. They still are. My mom is for sure. She texts me every single day, and she's like, what are you eating? What are you doing? It's like, I'm fine. You got to relax. But, of course, yeah, my parents are, they worry all the time, for sure. New York, something happens, and someone gets fucking, hit by a subway in the Bronx, and my mom's like, I just heard what happened. I'm like, how the fuck do you have this information so quickly? I don't even know what's going on. But they're supportive, for sure. These fucking birds, they're very supportive.
Just let them go.
Birds are. I'll tell you what. I owned 3 parakeets at one point. They're the messiest animal of all time.
They're the most destructive animals I've ever seen in my life. They're 8 ounces, and they've destroyed our blinds. There's shit everywhere. It's it's mad.
You have to vacuum the seed every morning. It's unbelievable,
buddy. I went and my girlfriend loves animals, right? So it was Valentine's Day last year, right before the lockdown too. The worst bird for lockdown, or worst pets for lockdown. So I'm like, I go to the pet store. I'm like, yeah, this and that. How much? Oh, they're $20. I go, these fucking things. They're like, they can talk. They're smart. $20. You go, how the fuck are these things $20? This is a steal. They don't tell you about the 35 shits a day. The fucking seeds all over the place. The goddamn chips. They eat everything in like. We have to put aluminum over the blinds because they're eating the fucking aluminum. This was not told to me at PetSmart. They were just like, they're smart, they talk, you'll love them. Fuck, will we? We hate them. What are you talking about? We'll love them.
For the animal, the messier they are. That's really what it is.
It's insanity. We every day, me and my girlfriend talk about how much of the birds were a mistake. I've never had pets I've hated.
Now that we touched on Alex's anti-American rhetoric and Eric's hot chest, we can move on to the final segment we do, Alex. It's a quick question segment. It's gun to your head, and we ask 2 questions each. It's not your typical like Cowboys or Eagles, hockey or basketball. It's a little wordplay involved since we kind of do a rap podcast and stuff. So we ask 2 questions. You have to answer them, and you pick the winner at the end of your favorite question. And we do take this pretty serious. There's a lot of shit talking that goes on in the group text while the episode is about to happen. Not by me. I'm very humble. So we will.
By you.
Not by me. So we're going to have Brian go first because I feel like he hasn't started this in a while. Go on.
Literally the last podcast we did, I started.
I don't know about that.
It's all right. It's fine. All right, I'll start. So, Alex, every day for a year, would you rather have to eat popcorn or corn pops?
Popcorn.
Okay.
Love popcorn.
For 1 year, would you rather be a terrible fire marshal or have to fire a guy named Marshall from his job every day?
Terrible fire marshal. Can't fire anyone. Hurts my soul too much.
Oh, that's sweet. I'll go next.
I just think it would be funny to walk in someplace and be like, who's Marshall? You? You're fired. Get the fuck out.
Fuck, I can't do that. I wish I could.
We allow for the 10-minute explanation when they're not landing.
Void.
Okay, so this is on the premise that you're doing a show every day for a week. Would you rather sit down on stage or stand up at home?
Boo.
Sit down at stage? On stage?
Although every show for a week, or you can't sit down at home. You have to stand up at your house.
What a confusing, bad question.
The best ones are the ones you have to explain over and over again.
Yeah.
I would never want to stand up in my own home.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Would you rather have a rumor that you blew a guy named Jay or have a Blue Jays World Series?
What?
Would you rather have a... Okay, let me reword this. The Blue
Would
Jays...
I rather blow a guy named Jay or win a World Series?
No, the Blue Jays win a World Series, but there's a rumor going around that you blew a guy named Jay. Would you...
Oh, yeah. Oh, buddy. Well, my old roommate was Jay. I blew him. Give us the World Series.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, for sure.
I fucking kept wording
That was a little confusing on that one.
Yeah, I thought you meant would I rather blow a guy named Jay or win a World Series. Yeah. I'm like, this is too easy.
I worded it wrong. Eric, this is a layup for you if you just don't fuck this up.
I'm nervous. All right. Would you rather never win a bracket in March Madness or go mad every time you see someone march?
No, the mad. I want to get mad. I need to win brackets. I need to win.
Okay. All right, Wolf. All right. Would you rather have a poor stage presence or have to give out presents every time you go on stage?
Presents every time I go on stage. I'd rather do that. I don't want to have a poor stage presence.
I'm going to say
this could have been our worst one ever.
Collectively, these are some of the worst questions we had. We're man enough to admit you can't hit a home run every time. Sometimes you got to sack fly.
This is my fault for delaying this podcast. That's why. If I would have came on the first time, you guys would have fucking nailed it. That Jay,
you got the bottom of the barrel. We've had these written back.
Scott, that Jay question was one of the worst questions I've ever had in anything in my life.
All right,
that was despicable.
Horrible.
I'm gonna fucking call your cousin after we do this podcast. I'm gonna tell him you're fucked up. You got too much shit in your background, and you gotta fucking relax with the weed.
We have to put a gun to his head.
All right. So you have to pick a winner, though. What was your favorite question?
Sorry, man. That was rough for everybody.
I think it was. What was your first one, Brian?
Would you rather eat popcorn or corn pops?
Yeah, that one was just the easiest one. I didn't even have to. I wasn't because I could see my face in the Zoom. And your questions, but yours were a lot cleaner than Scott's. But the whole time I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was a lot of words.
Well, Brian's was the easiest. That corn, and I love corn pop, and I love popcorn. So I mean,
Brian just won a marathon with two people who have no legs. So congratulations.
A win's a win.
Yeah, it just was a horrible thing. Alex, thanks a lot for coming on. Tell us.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, give us your Instagram, and I know you do a podcast. Let us know what it is and stuff like that.
I just started a podcast. It's about gambling. It's called Buddy, What's the Bet? And my Instagram's Mr. Alex Pavone, Pavone.
Awesome.
And that's it.
Thanks for coming out, man. It was really cool. Thanks
for having me. And again, I apologize for this taking forever. It's been it's been a fucked up year, and I've been a lazy piece of shit. But I had a great time. You guys are good guys.